Hey guys, this is John.
And Ira.
And welcome back to the Climb Along podcast. Today we're going to talk about how God wrote our love story and how we met. So first things first, our short background before we met.
Yeah, we're just going to jump right in because we're ramblers. But I think it's a great story to share. So before we met, I was 18 when we met. And before we met, I never had a relationship, never had really a big possibility for a relationship due to just school and college and everything. I was really in a place where I was like, okay, I don't really have time for this. I wanted it, but I realistically understood that while I'm in school, especially before college, that it's really not a place where I can devote enough time to a relationship. And also it felt like all the Christian guys were just vanished from my surroundings.
They are not around.
Yes, which was, for the good, I guess. But yeah, so before we met, I was in a place where I think God prepared me well for a relationship at that time. I watched a lot of just videos about Christian dating and, wrote out a list of my non-negotiables, which is a great thing to do. Highly recommend. We do recommend this to our friends who were starting to date. But
yes,
yeah, I was kind of in that place of, I'm open, but waiting for opportunities.
Yes. And then for me, before we met, I was a person who, when I was not a Christian, would just date around. So there was a lot of baggage and a lot of relationship hurt. And then the Lord saved me. And then I would try my best to do relationship the Lord's way, but I was missionary dating, where maybe I could lead someone to Christ through dating, which we highly do not recommend whatsoever. And that's a little short background of how we met. I know that we found this conference, and how we first texted is we found this conference called Heart of Dating. We don't endorse them or sponsor them, but it seemed that the Lord has blessed 2 marriages because of it. My best friend and Ira and I. So we bought the tickets. What did you do first when you first bought the ticket? What were your thoughts?
Yeah, so I was interested in it because I was interested in the speakers. I had some people who were influencers I followed, and I was like, oh, this is cool, learning about relationships. I love relationships. I would love to have one. And that's why I initially chose the conference, but I did have it in the back of my mind that maybe then we'll meet someone, but okay, don't focus on that.
Yeah.
So I tried to keep myself away from that. But yeah, shortly after I bought the ticket, I think it was just maybe a few weeks that there was an app where you could meet with other people and you could just make connections, even though it was already still months and a half before the conference itself. And that's where you found me, because I wasn't trying to find anyone. I would just look through it, but
yeah. So I went and bought the tickets for the conference. And at the moment in time at the conference, because there was a huge 1 to 10 ratio, 1 guy to 10 female ratio, there were a lot of women reaching out to the guys, especially in the early stage. So as a maintenance scheduler and as someone who likes to play around with Excel, I basically put everything in an Excel spreadsheet, had formulas on who may be the number 1 person who might be my Christian wife, based off of, especially, again, our non-negotiable lists. Totally recommend anyone to do that. And that was also the time when people reaching out to me, I was also reaching out to people, and I reached out to Ira saw that she was in Europe. Her location was Ukraine, and I was in Europe as well. So I reached out and just said hi. I see that you were in Heart of Dating, and you're part of the people in Europe, and wanted to get to know you. Slid her in DMs in Instagram. So what were your first impressions with whenever I just...
Yes, so I got a message, and it was in the middle of like a busy day actually. So I got a message and I read it, and I was like, oh, it's from someone I don't know, some guy. And it said that, hey, I found you on Heart of Dating, and I saw that you were in Europe. So he stated clearly like why he's texting me, where he found my contact. And I actually appreciated that, because I know I would have some guys sometimes reach out, not from that same conference, but just overall throughout the time. There would be guys who would be like, hi. And I'm like, I don't know you. Please state your purpose. So I would never want to reply. Yeah, I would never want to reply. So I remember when I saw your message, first it surprised me that you were so intentional, that you like said like why you texted me. And that made me want to reply, even though I did wait today. Not purposefully. I think I just like put it off, and I was like, I'm gonna reply later, and then I got to it the next day.
I started with the hardest questions. I thought it'd be good to start with some hard questions, and that got me into the friend zone. Well, you texted, just you're looking for some friends, but it is. It was a safe thing to do, because there were a lot of people on that app or on that conference who were wanting a ring by spring, and that is not how Ira was wired at the time.
Yeah. I it was funny how you say that we had those like serious questions, because he would ask me like, oh, how many kids do you want? And I'm like, I'm sorry, I just met you. Yeah. I don't think I'm ready to talk about that. But we kept on just texting for I think about a week, and I guess it was a very interesting stage, and because for me, I didn't want to be texted as much as you were texting me, and as sometimes like very, I guess it wasn't like super deep questions, but it was something like you were trying to get to know me quickly. And for me, it was like, okay, well, like let's hold back. But I feel like I grew to like the attention just without even understanding it. And I remember I got a message from you that after a week or so that, hey, I am going to be talking to someone else right now. Like we're getting a little more serious, so I don't want to be texting any other people. So when I heard that, it was a really beautiful message. I feel like it's something that, a person who is, starting some relationship with someone, it would be great that they do that. But for me, I read that and I was like, oh, that's kind of sad. I kind of liked you in a way of, I like the attention, but I feel like that break was really good. Yeah. So what happened during the break?
So during the break, it was, again, there were a lot of people who wanted a ring by spring, and I, at the same time, apparently had the same attitude, but when you have two people who want a ring by spring, you get a fast infatuation. So this person I was talking to, I found it that we just got serious very quickly. I thought it was the respectful thing to cut off all communication from other people. So that's why I respectfully told Ira that, hey, I'm pursuing someone, but it only happened to be a week because I shared my testimony about my relationship baggage, sexual baggage of the past, and at the time I was the person was a pastor's kid, so I thought, okay, I was more like judging myself because I thought, well, I don't deserve this. She's probably someone who's never dated anyone, or she probably doesn't want to deal with this baggage. So I left. I left the relationship because I felt a lot of shame and a lot of guilt still from my past actions, and I was judging myself very harshly rather than hearing, what God's word saying that He has created us as new creatures. But that gave us time for 2 weeks. And at the time I was vowing to the Lord that whoever I'm going to commit to next, I'm going to commit to wholeheartedly, and that the person who's going to cut that off would be the woman instead of me next. But at the time I also made a vow to do a 6 month of singleness. But I was also very emotional at the time, so I would write poems. And since Ira was on my... we still followed each other on Instagram. I wrote some poems and you responded. Yeah. And then we reached out 2 weeks after that happened.
Yeah, so we initially met in the beginning of January. That was January 2022. Mm-hmm. And we stopped talking in the middle of January, and then we reached back in the end of January.
Yeah.
So I think, we kept like very minimal contact through Instagram, was like maybe responding to a post or so. But otherwise, what brought us back together was actually when you texted me about the war, because I was in Ukraine at that time, you were in Italy, and of course everybody in the world was hearing the news and the possibilities, and you texted me like just asking how I was doing, and make sure. You just texted me and asking how I was doing. And it was really nice because I feel like at that time when you reached out, you really, like, I feel like our relationship was more like old acquaintances. Yeah. And it felt way less pressured, I think, than in the beginning. And neither of us were rushing. And we just started talking, just getting to know each other in very simple ways, just sharing our best friends and all of the stories from life. And I think all of that kind of moved into mid-February, which is when we had our little breakthrough moment, I would say, in our friendship.
Yes, so that breakthrough moment in February was, I myself had a dream thinking that Ira was had an attraction, or she wanted to be with a Ukrainian man rather than me. So, and lo and behold, when I texted her about it, she said that she had thoughts that I'd be better off with a Filipina, which was super funny because I never thought in my head I would be with a Filipina, and she never thought in her mind as well, for the situation I said.
And we were kind of throughout our life, as if we look back, we were kind of ready for a relationship on, well, I don't know if we were ready for a relationship long distance, but we were ready for an intercultural relationship.
Yes.
Which is really interesting how, God prepares you throughout your life for what He has for you. But let us know, by the way, if you are in an intercultural relationship, did you have any moments when you were thinking that, that person is not going to like me because I'm not from their culture, but, we shared those fears with each other, and that really opened up, I guess, a new connection between us. And we were like, hey, like, if we really like each other that much, and to the point that we are scared that we will meet someone else, then maybe we can set up some mutual boundaries that we called it, what do we call it? Exclusive
friendship. Yeah, we had an exclusive friendship where it wasn't dating, but we wouldn't talk to anybody else. We were intentional. I think one of the important things in that time was also just giving it all to the Lord, having our friendship / relationship at the time just with open hands.
Especially until the time that we were able to meet in person, because throughout that whole time, up until, so we met in beginning of January again, and up until April, we did not meet in person.
Yes.
We started doing calls and such, but it was a slow building of a relationship, which I feel like being long distance and never seeing each other in person is really natural.
Yes.
At least for me, it felt like, okay, I need to see this person. Not like for any particular reason. It's more just in general. Like, as soon as we met, it felt real.
Yes. And we met in Thessaloniki. And I just got off of a TDY. It was in April because it was the weekend where Easter was on that Sunday, and it was a very fun time. And I was very nervous, but I told myself it was either going to be really good or really bad, and it turned out to be very good. So, and then I would go ahead and visit her multiple times. You moved to Athens.
Yeah, I moved to Greece with my sister and her husband due to the war.
Yes.
So that kind of gave us a lot of opportunities to see each other, because of course if I was in Ukraine, we wouldn't see each other half as much. But
military members cannot go to Ukraine because of the war.
Yeah, so the first time we met, I want to kind of draw back to that, is you said that you were kind of intimidated about it, which is funny because even though I was the more shy person and the more newer to relationships in our relationship, I feel like I felt so comfortable with those milestones, like the first time video chatting and first time meeting. It just really felt natural. And I think after that first trip that you had to Greece, when we first met in person, that sealed it all. Like I feel like after that trip, I was like, okay, what I thought about this person is true. And what I thought about my emotions and feelings towards this person are real. And I remember I cried so hard that whole day when you left. And
I cried too on the way back.
It was just so sweet, and that really shows that like we needed that time to see each other. Yeah, and then that brings us, we had multiple trips, of course, as much as possible. I mean, long distance couples would understand.
Greek food was amazing.
Yes, the tickets and everything takes time and money. So we were able to see each other every month. So you would try to make it every month.
Yeah, I tried to make it I think the only month that I didn't see you was in June. Yeah. Because we were preparing for the
big trip.
The big trip where my 6 months of singleness would end on July 1st. So you want to run through that a little bit and just like how the start of that?
Yeah, so I had a trip planned for the 4th of July weekend, which was actually really cool because we were able to meet a lot of the community here. You were plugged into a church, and
it's her first time in Italy.
Yeah, that was my first time in Italy, first time being at a place where you live, because technically you only visited me.
Yeah.
But I was looking forward to it. And also because before we started officially dating, since we had this, come up season of exclusive friendship, we had some boundaries that we set, which certain boundaries would be taken away when we start dating, when we are able to be like, okay, I'm committed to you until we get married, which was, one of them was kissing. Another one was being able to say I love you, and it just was really nice to go through those boundaries. Oh yeah, and also the Sunday fasts. We had.
Oh yes, we had. I totally forgot about that. Yeah. We had Sunday fasts while we were in our friendship stage, so that we could focus wholly on the Lord and on church, on Bible reading, just having our devotion, our heart grow closer. We knew that our hearts growing closer to God would mean that our hearts would grow close to each other. If our hearts were not growing closer to God, then we won't grow closer to each other.
And what we did through that was we did not talk.
Yes.
So we did not text.
No communication.
Yeah, we basically said like goodbye till Monday, which was so hard, honestly. The first time we did that, I was like, I must really like this person because I cannot handle a day without texting you.
Yeah.
But those were finished, which was really great after we
Yeah.
started dating. And yeah, I mean, I guess the next question would be, how was the dating and then engagement, if you want to go into
Yeah.
that?
So dating phase was not fun. I highly recommend. Well, it was fun because we were able to. One, we were able to kiss, but we were able to finally get to know each other in a way that, hey, this is a solidified relationship.
Yeah. And we were
moving towards marriage. Of course, we had a ton of boundaries, especially whenever you would come visit over. We had boundaries of where you would stay, and just again, it is important in this stage. Like it says in the book of Song of Solomon, do not awaken love before its time. Or in the Proverbs, guard your heart above all else, for everything flows from it. So we wanted to have boundaries as much as we possibly can, or as much as we possibly did, but also at the same time, it was good Christian accountability when you have brothers and sisters in Christ holding our relationship to a high scrutiny. But at the time, we felt the pressure of that and thought, oh, this is church hurt. But in reality, at the time, it was the most loving thing that our friends would have done. But it wasn't fun because we were under the microscope.
Yeah, and I feel like it's more just saying that, like, because you said it in a way that, like, dating wasn't fun. It's like, no, we were enjoying, knowing, like, growing a relationship. It was more like, I guess, what are our thoughts on Christian dating, and doing that. And we would have friends who would also agree that, it's a hard season. Like, it's not an easy season. It's not a season to look forward to.
Yes.
Which I think in a way, we were looking forward to moving from friendship to dating. But I feel like after that, we probably realized that, like, okay, we're looking forward to getting married.
Yes.
And not to say that, like, boundaries made us marry faster or something like that. No, like, I think boundaries are beautiful in a Christian relationship. They're there for a reason. But definitely it was a season that you just have to go through.
Right.
Yeah.
So we were friends for 6 months, and then we were in this dating stage for 6 months.
Like exactly.
Like exactly. And then we got engaged. But before we got engaged, just important note, I went and talked just for her hand in marriage, and I think it is super important that a man should ask their hopefully future father-in-law their hand in marriage, even if their father-in-law don't speak the language that you speak. And lo and behold, January 1st, I know it's cheesy. We proposed. Well, I proposed. I proposed. We had friends over, and we did a whole trip at an Airbnb so that we're able to be somewhere else other than in Italy, so that I can propose to her in Slovenia at Lake Bohinj. It was a beautiful, beautiful place. Yeah. It just so happened to be that the friends that we had that I was over there, they were taking photos, and at the same time it recorded, so we have the whole proposal like on video.
And it was funny to, now having gone through the engagement and marriage, I feel like in the engagement, you always imagine that, people are surprised. Like, people look so surprised in videos, women specifically, of course, like, oh, I had no idea you're proposing to me. But I feel like the more people I talk to after my engagement is that, like, the girl usually knows, like, and it's right. It's right when the girl knows and expects it. Yeah. Because I feel like it's something you discuss, which is something I didn't think about before. I thought that it just happens,
Yeah, but, like in the movies.
Yeah, but we discussed it. We talked about our timelines. Like, okay, this time I'm not ready yet. Okay, let's put it around this time frame, and you can choose any day over there. So I was still, it was still fun and exciting, I guess,
Yeah.
of when is it gonna be. But of course, you're a very predictable person. It's funny we have like the different personalities and like surprises, but it was a beautiful
Yeah.
place. I feel like that was all we could wish for, but
Yes, yeah.
it was definitely something that we just wanted to go through just to move on to
Yes.
the next stage, because we had different expectations. We can talk about that sometime in the
Yeah.
future. We have different family expectations about when to marry, like and all of that, but I feel like it was still as good as it could be.
Yes, yes.
And then we had basically 6 months to prepare for a wedding.
Yes. So, again, timeline. Friendship for 6 months, engaged, dating for 6 months, and then engaged for 6 months.
Yeah.
And exactly at the same date that we got married, and the same date that we started dating, July 1st, was also the same date that we got married.
Yeah.
So we got married July 1st, 2023.
Yeah, and I also want to add through that time, I feel like we kind of started off saying that we started our relationship long distance.
Yes.
So actually, a month before we got engaged, I was able to move to Italy just because of some life changes and just deciding where our life is going. Like I either had a choice to move somewhere really far or to move right here. And since we were moving towards marriage, we were like, okay, it would be right to move here. So I was able to God provided amazing people to host me so that we could uphold our boundaries until marriage. But how do you think was that transition, like from being long distance to in person now, basically?
Yeah, I think being in person it made our relationship grow more. Of course you would have misunderstandings and miscommunication, even in person, of course, but you had it way less when you're in person, because when you're over the phone, there's a lot of things that are not able to be said properly, body language, all that kind of stuff, and also you not being there all the time with a person. A lot of things can be missed within the cracks, as per se. So it was I think it was a great transition being in person. I think I definitely just needed to adjust, just like how when we got married, definitely had to adjust some of my independent habits, because at the time I was 23, that I have been independent on my own, living on my own since I was 19. So having to unlearn some things, knowing how to just live with another person was an important transition for me.
Yeah, and if you have any questions about like long distance or any advice, I think we have that on our mind as something we would love to talk.
Speak on.
Yeah, and especially in like a Q&A format where we can answer questions, because we experienced that both in dating and in marriage, which is a whole other topic.
Yes.
And yeah, definitely. I would say long distance, it's like, it brought so many good things into our life.
Yes.
But it's definitely one of the hardest things in a relationship, especially if you are married. Which, I mean, Lord willing, you don't have to have it when you're married, but especially being military family, you have those instances. But
yeah,
and then
we got married July 1st, which I want to reiterate. But we had a small wedding, and I know a lot of people think of a large wedding, but how did you feel having a small wedding?
So that was actually our purpose. I mean, we were considering elopement, but in order to keep the peace in the family, we decided to invite, people who we knew wanted to celebrate with us, wanted to see it in person, since it was the first official marriage on both sides of our family, immediate family. But I really liked it. I never really wanted a huge wedding, so for me it was great, and it helped us save so much money. Yes. And give us a good head start on our marriage, which I think is really important.
You think I could share them the numbers real quick? I mean, Well, let's just say our budget was it's smaller than most usual people, and of course we went over it. But compared to the budgets of our friends, it was astronomical. Just the difference. So I'm glad that we were able to have a small, intimate wedding. It was Filipino food. It was at maybe a max 50 people. So
Those are like probably exactly 50
yeah,
people.
exactly 50 people. And it was super fun. It was super intimate and very nice and personal.
Yeah, and also another part of our wedding was getting our legal documents, which is really a confusing process, which you wouldn't think
Yeah.
about. But I guess being intercultural, living in a country which
Yeah.
is neither of our citizenship
Yeah.
countries, we actually found that we can get married in Denmark.
Yes.
Apparently, it's the Las Vegas of Europe. It's the easiest to get your legal documents. Yeah, and I guess for our last point, how did you like being in Denmark?
I loved being in Denmark. I know that the process was super easy compared to the process that we were going to have to do in Italy. Again, Ira brought it up that, she's not an Italian national, so the bureaucracy would be slower on her end, and I'm not an Italian national, so the process will be slower on my end. So it was slow on either side. But we saw that in Denmark is a place where a lot of people would flock to who are in Europe, and different places in Europe would go and get married easily, very easily. And we did it in the island of Eroskobing, and
It was a beautiful island.
Yes.
Like, hard to get to, really hard to get to, but it was worth it.
it almost felt like, is this even worth it going over there? But as soon as we reached there, it was so worth it.
Yeah.
The travel there is hard. Looking at the trains was a huge obstacle. Finding the right buses and then ferries. But at the end of the day, Roskobing, so beautiful. Just a beautiful town. If you do go there, highly recommend bring a winter jacket. Even if it's in the middle or early of July, it's still really cold because it's up north.
Yeah, it was a beautiful time. We just went just the two of us because
Yes.
we didn't expect any of our family to want to fly all the way to Denmark with us. So I feel like it was a really special moment. It was after our church wedding and family celebration.
Yes.
I think it was a week after, right? Or even a few days.
It was a few days. It was July 1st was our church wedding, and then July 5th was our court wedding.
Yeah.
So it's only a few days.
So that was a really good time. It was kind of like the head start of our honeymoon, basically. Pick up our documents and go.
Exactly. Yeah.
But that's our love story.
Yes.
And now we are almost 2 years in. We're like a month away almost from being 2 years married and a baby on the way.
Baby James on the way. 23 weeks as of today. But yeah, I mean, we also had other things that didn't go as planned, and maybe we can talk about it on a different episode. We'll maybe in a Q&A, or just some things that we just talk specifically about weddings in general.
Yeah.
We'll talk about on a separate episode. Anything else you want to bring up, my love?
No, I think that's pretty much it. And thank you for listening to our ramble on our love story.
Yes.
But I hope that, other people who maybe had a similar situation of being intercultural, love story plus being far apart, long distance. I feel like it's always fun to share and hear how these stories come together, how these two people from different countries and cultures can just come and be together. But I feel like, we're right now really happy to be where we are now. It was definitely a journey.
Yes. Yep. And at the end of the day, the Lord plans our steps. His word is like a lamp to our feet. And this is how God shaped our love story. And hopefully some may relate to this podcast, and some may be ready to search for their they're one, the person who they're meant to be with. Again, thank you guys for listening for the podcast. Tune in next week for the next episode. Ciao.